completed scene 1, my testimony at her funeral, after listening to the pastor deliver her homily without ever saying her name. That's true. Starts with a quote. Thank God she did not instantly die from her fall, but lived long enough to make it to the ER. She had time to ask our Heavenly Father's forgiveness for her sin. Also true. This suicide completion was made possible due to the generous contributions of ableists like you. Your continued support through donations of rhetorical double standards concerning physical and mental conditions is invaluable in forcing the just world hypothesis and all the victim blaming this widespread ideology enables. You should be proud to assist us in perpetuating negative stereotypes and misconceptions regarding the topic of mental health. Please continue to advance our cause by spreading prejudice against the neurodivergent to your friends and family. Uncomfortable with expressing opinions on topics such as depression and suicide ideation that no qualified mental health professional would ever corroborate? Don't you worry, true believer. Do so with confidence during casual conversations with friends, acquaintances, and relatives young and old alike, because independent thinking and logical reasoning are not required to internalize our beliefs. In fact, we discourage critiques and deconstructions of our slogans and attitudes by ableists like you. After all, you can't spell ableist without the phrase, they deserve to die because they were too weak to live. Well, actually, you can. Sentences don't spell words. But if that thought crossed your mind, then you're paying too much attention to the diametrical opposition between such messages and the so-called value of compassion. As we all know, compassion gets in the way of judging others. So try to avoid this all-too-common mistake. And as a friendly reminder regarding the most accessible ways to facilitate the development of a society where an effective relational support and professional help are rendered inaccessible to individuals suffering from emotional dysregulation due to trauma, you can do your part to make this ideal a reality by adopting just a few easy-to-remember keywords. Selfish, coward, willpower, as in all it takes is willpower. Don't let your illness negatively affect you in any way. How dare you be noticeably symptomatic? And remember to use the word trigger in a manner contrary to its definition. Don't know how not to use the word trigger? Have no fear, aspiring ableist. People misuse the word trigger all the time, often in tacitly or overtly disparaging ways towards those whose livelihoods would benefit from trigger warnings. So just adopt the usage patterns of the nearest white, heterosexual male gamer to amplify the disenfranchisement of and stigma against those pesky trauma survivors. If you do not have access to a white heterosexual male gamer, you can often substitute one of these identities for a less privileged one, and the outcome will remain the same, thanks to the magic of internalized bigotry. Through simple practices such as these, you can do your part in building widely accepted mental models and socially constructed attitudes, which stack up to make a great, big, beautiful wall of contempt, which will help keep mental health literacy out of our reality, leaving those afflicted with nowhere to turn. Now, before we conclude this memorial service and reconvene at the gravesite for the burial, let us recite the ableist's pledge of stigmatization towards suicide attempters. Do not talk about this suicide with a mouse. Do not talk about this suicide with your spouse. Do not discuss this suicide with a squid. Do not discuss this suicide with your kids. The less you think about it, the happier you will be. The more you blame the suicide completer, the less you have to see. You either want to kill yourself or don't at all. You know it's so. Dichotomy is the way to see continuums of disbelief. But that is how the only way that they can prove that they're just made to kill themselves. Then we'll believe. And we will judge them cowardly.